Okay, we're good. Hi, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:00 p.m. and announce that the board will meet in closed session to address items 1 through 5. Are there any public comment on closed session items?
Madam President, there are no public comments on closed session items.
Then I will close public comment and recess into closed session. Thank you.
Where's this?
Oh, it goes down. Too short to reach it.
Yeah, go ahead. You don't have to. You don't have to be right on top of it. You could just.
I can't.
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Like you might not be able to hear yourself, but
Yeah.
the audience can.
I hear it. So nice. Test 1, 2, 3. There we go. I can hear myself, kind of.
Good. You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great.
I'm glad y'all laid down still not that. You can actually kind of see
Everybody take no ownership.
do a script. Is there
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting back to order and announce the time is 6:01. I'll also announce the board met in closed session and no action was taken. Good evening and welcome to the Elk Grove Unified School District's board meeting. Live streaming of full in-person board meetings are available to the public by using the link located on the district's website. Today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. We encourage you to attend the meetings and share your feedback with the board. Your active participation is valued and contributes to the decision-making process. We always start with our land acknowledgement. Ms. Villas?
Yes. We acknowledge that the Elk Grove Unified School District administrative facilities and schools occupy the unceded territory of the Miwok, the original people of the skies, land, and waters where we work and learn. The Miwok have cared for these lands since time immemorial. They continue to teach their traditional knowledge that comes from a response to the needs of the land and the people who share it. May our daily lives and work teaching, learning, leadership, and community engagement support the evolving vision of the Miwok for their community in these lands. May we strive to acknowledge the past for the betterment for our future generations. May we look to our tribal partners, the Wilton Rancheria, the descendants of the original people of this land, to assist with the successful education of our community.
Thank you. Public comment information. During regular board meetings, the public may make public comments for items on the agenda or items not on the agenda. Requests to make public comment will be accepted for an item up until the board president introduces the item. Generally, members of the public will be given 3 minutes to address the board. If there are 15 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comment time to 2 minutes each. If there are 30 or more comments on a specific item, the board will reduce individual comments to 1 minute each. Individuals may not defer their time to another individual speaker to increase their total speaking time. Please be mindful that district students are watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner, such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and valued. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruptions of board meetings. Persistent disruption by an individual or group shall be grounds for the board president to provide a warning and then terminate the individual's privilege of addressing the board. Today we have our Pledge of Allegiance in Mr. Vargas's area.
Awesome. All right, come on up, you guys. And if you want to hang out at the podium right over there, I've got some words from the district before we get started.
Can I introduce them real quick? I'm sorry. Miss Heather Winston, Gerard Tate. Did I say that right? Do you know?
I have, yeah.
Okay, and Juliet Tate.
All right, sweet. So tonight we are honored to recognize Heather Wisenton, Jure Tate, and Juliet Tate for their partnership, dedication, and commitment to the Irene B. West Elementary community. Their children, Josiah Tate, a 7th grade student at Harriet Eddy Middle School, Talon Tate, a 5th grade student at Irene B. West Elementary, and Braden Tate, a 3rd grade student at Irene B. West Elementary, have been an important part of the West community. Heather has been an exceptional volunteer, serving as field trip chaperone and always willing to lend a helping hand to support students and staff. Jure is a familiar and supportive presence at school-wide events, whether attending back-to-school night, student performances, family picnics, or other campus activities. Jure consistently demonstrates active participation and encouragement. We would also like to recognize Juliet, whose dedication as a tutor and volunteer supports student learning and success. Together, Heather, Jure, and Juliet are familiar faces at school events and family picnics, often bringing extra food to share so that every child feels welcomed and included. On behalf of Irene B. West Elementary, thank you to Heather, Jure, and Juliet for their contributions, which make our school a welcoming and caring place for everyone. Take it away.
Everybody, please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you guys hang out right there for a second, I've got something for you.
I also neglected to introduce Ms. Sanchez, the principal at Irene B. West. Thank you. May we have another round of applause, please? Our next item is student expulsion and voluntary transfer recommendations. We have a request for student return from expulsion. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the recommendations for students seeking readmission from expulsion to the Elk Grove Unified School District.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Vargas, seconded by Ms. Ballerini. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we have public comment for items not on the agenda. Are there any blue cards for items not on the agenda?
Madam President, there are blue cards. So let me see. Let's go with, hold on one second.
Let me double check where we are. These are all.
Okay, we have 3 blue cards for items not on the agenda. So I'm just going to go in the order I have them here. I've got Diane, is it Liebuck? Jibbuck, okay, there we go. And Yuri Torres, and then Renee Roberts. So if Diane would like to come up and speak at this podium over here, and you'll have 3 minutes. And then Yuri is next, and then Renee.
A lot of you guys know me. A lot of you guys know these guys. We were the crossing guards. I was there for 5.5 years. How were you there?
I was there for over 5 years, 3 years.
And I get the situation of saving money, but it was the way it was done. The district knew June the 9th that they had not gone with our contract. Someone could at least call and let us know. This was our livelihood. There wasn't a day that we was not out there. We was out there in the rain, the sun, triple digits, whatever, the code, whatever. A lot of you guys, this is the face. We develop a rapport with the kids, with staff at the schools, staff here in the district. I just didn't like the way it was done. That's my opinion of it.
So, we've developed relationships with these kids, and these kids like, are you coming back? And with the experience being out there in the rain and all that, and I'm retired from state service, but I was doing it not for the money, but I was doing it for, because I wanted to be out there, and I enjoyed doing what I was doing, and I wish I was continuing doing that. But we didn't know when I just found out April 30th that, oh, okay, you're no longer, yeah. But I got my letter just 2 days ago saying that you were not going to be the crossing guard anymore.
And we wasn't even offered. We've already established a rapport with these guys. The kids are going to come back looking for us because they wanted consistency. We were consistent with the kids. We was consistent with the schools. They're gonna, like I said, they're gonna come back looking for us. We wasn't even offered.
Yeah. We kind of knew how the traffic was around there, you know, we knew the flow of traffic and the students and so forth, and so.
And this is Joseph Carey. I know you, a lot of you guys saw her out there. This is Joseph Carragard. You know, once we implemented that we were established there with the kids, it's not a very easy job. And once school start, you guys are going to see a lot of hecticness. I've worked at every last one of those schools, from Monterey Trails all the way down to Mary Mix. Every last one of the schools that we were contracted for, you know, and to have the lack of respect, because that's what it boils down to me, the lack of respect, no consideration to say, hey, Diane, let's give you guys a little heads up. We're not gonna renew the contract. I get saving money, I get that part, but we are people. There wasn't a day that went by that we wouldn't step out to that street where we was cussed out by drivers, almost hit by drivers, had disrespectful kids, and then I see in some of the comments, some of the parents said, "Oh, the crossing guards were getting paid." Would you come out there under those conditions and not be compensated for it?
I like my job. I just feel that we should have been told that, you know, we weren't coming back, so we could have went out there and looked for another job and not waited to the last minute. I just feel that that was disrespectful.
And school is scheduled to start next week, and we're just finding out. You know, seeing comments through social media, that's very hurtful. You know, I took pride in training all those guards and made sure that those guards was representing Elk Grove to the fullest, and we couldn't get the same respect.
Thank you. Next up is Yuri Torres, and then Renee Roberts.
Good evening, President, trustees, and superintendent. My name is Yuri Torres, and I am a parent of 2 students at Edna Beatty Elementary School. I have one child who began 6th grade and another who entered in kindergarten. I am here tonight not simply because a 6th grade overnight experience was discontinued at our school, but because I believe that the process by which the decision was made deserves consideration. For many families, this overnight experience represented a milestone that students looked forward to throughout their elementary years. It was an opportunity for students to build independence, strengthen relationships with their classmates, and create memories that extended beyond the traditional classroom setting. I recognize that decisions involving overnight experiences are complex. Staffing, supervision, funding, safety, and logistics are all legitimate considerations, and I appreciate the responsibility schools have in balancing those factors. However, what has been most concerning to many families is that long-standing student experience was permanently discontinued without meaningful engagement with parent community before the decision was finalized. Our district often speaks about the importance of partnership with families. I believe partnership is most meaningful when families are invited into conversations before decisions are made, especially when those decisions permanently change opportunities that have impacted students for many years. I've begun gathering information about overnight opportunities throughout the district because I want to better understand how these decisions are approached across schools and whether there are opportunities for schools, families, and communities to work together when challenges arise. I'm not asking the board to make a decision about one school's program tonight. I am asking the board to consider whether there is a district expectation that families are engaged before long-standing student traditions or experiences are permanently discontinued. Families are willing to partner. We are willing to volunteer, to problem solve, and support solutions when opportunities matter to our students. We simply want the opportunity to be a part of those conversations. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And the next up is Renee Roberts.
Hello, good evening. I'm a retired educator. I've been a principal. I have been a classroom teacher of several different grades. but I'm here tonight talking about District Policy 5131.2 and the 1964 Title VI Civil Rights Act. Zero and strict tolerance against bullying, harassment, intimidation, and cyberbullying. Student safety is supposed to be a top priority and doesn't allow behaviors that infringe on the safety, emotional, physical, and the well-being of Elk Grove Unified School District students. Unfortunately, our family feels quite disappointed because my grandson, Kingston Owens, doesn't feel safe physically nor psychologically due to the behaviors of Ryan Vogt and the Elk Grove Unified School District responses to Ryan's behaviors. We have contacted school administration, Director Henry, Associate Superintendent Schweitzer, and Superintendent Riley's office, and we feel quite dismissed. My grandson's 504 must be amended by law to protect him. Some background on the situation. Ryan has threatened to assassinate my grandson more than once. Ryan on numerous times has threatened violence towards my grandson. Ryan has used racially charged words, not just to my grandson, but others. But the others are afraid to come forward because they see that nothing's being done to protect Kingston, so they're afraid what happens if they say something. And it's supposed to be no retaliation, Elk Grove Unified. However, next week, Ryan is being allowed to attend Toby Johnson with my grandson, where he'll be unsupervised during passing periods, lunchtime, restroom usage, etc. This is a when, not if, Ryan again starts stalking my grandson, threatens or assassinates my grandson. Right now, the plan is go tell an adult. Well, if he's assassinated or severely hurt, there's no time to go tell an adult. It's not a good plan. By law, my grandson's 504 must be amended to protect him from Ryan. Having Ryan attend Toby Johnson, where he is shown disdain for African American students, using the N-word plus others on a constant basis. Especially my grandson, hearing these words directed towards him is quite unlawful. Federal 1964 Title VI Civil Rights Act states racial bullying is strictly prohibited by law. Ryan's behavior and the district's response has caused my grandson severe stress and anxiety. In 7th grade, his grades thrived when Ryan went to Pinkerton. When they both were at Arlene Hine, my grandson's grades went down from the stress. I know tonight you cannot respond upon this legal matter, but we plead to direct staff to look at documentation, the restraining order, Ryan's cyberbullying, the correspondence between his mom and others regarding his behavior, reports of racial language, how an aide had to follow him around during non-instructional minutes
I'm
because
sorry,
of his behaviors at Pinkerton.
but your time is up.
You, please help keep my grandson safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public comment on items not on the agenda.
Thank you. Our next item is our consent agenda. Are there any blue cards related to the consent agenda? Number 6.
No. There are no blue cards on items on the consent agenda.
Hearing no blue cards, I would call for a motion to approve items 1 through 15 on the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Yang, seconded by Ms. Baldwin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Are there any bargaining units who wish to address the board? I'm seeing all no's. If I'm wrong, raise your hand. All right. We're moving on. Thank you. We're on to reports and discussion items. Improving and recovering attendance. Ms. LeMay and Ms. Sipes.
Well, good evening, Madam Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Riley, Ms. Avalos, and community members. Thank you for this opportunity to share about our attendance improvement and attendance recovery efforts. Our district's learning vision drives attendance improvement by using the 5 core values of reliable operations, engaging instruction, targeted support, wellness, and family engagement to identify root causes of chronic absenteeism, remove barriers to attendance, and create environments where students want to show up every day. This evening's presentation will include these 7 areas, and I'm going to present on the first 4, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague Erin to share about attendance recovery. The district attendance team is made up of members from various departments, including FACE, CPL, RED, Communications, and Schools. We met regularly last school year with the objective of focusing the work of attendance improvement and creating a district-wide attendance improvement plan. The nature of the team is dynamic so that other colleagues are invited to join depending on the focus of the work. As we did a deep dive into the work, a couple of bright spots appeared. For example, more than 50% of schools either maintained or decreased chronic absenteeism on the dashboard, and our sites receiving Title I funds are seeing some improvements. As part of our deep dive into the work, the team conducted empathy interviews. Participants for the empathy interviews came from David Reese Elementary School, Edna Beatty Elementary School, Joseph Kerr Middle School, and Monterey Trail High School, and included administrators, families, regional attendance improvement technicians, Shelley Mahaffey, who is our district's CalPADS coordinator, and school office attendants and technicians. Themes from these interviews included the need for a standardized attendance process, inconsistency with site Tier 1 interventions, the challenge of establishing and maintaining communication with families, and the reteaching, differentiating, and managing of learning gaps. Students shared the importance of feeling seen when teachers notice and acknowledge their absences. We also completed an attendance self-assessment to further lift up any urgent needs. The overall takeaway is that relationships matter, and clarity is needed about whose responsibility it is to communicate about attendance policies, procedures, and practices. So, all of that led us to our 2 change ideas: creating a district-wide communication plan and a continued focus on welcoming schools. In addition to our district's attendance team, we also have our attendance improvement personnel, some of which are here tonight. Thank you for being here. The team consists of 5 rates, which is our regional attendance improvement technicians, supporting across our 9 regions, a program assistant and a program specialist who manage the program and the new attendance grant, which I will touch on in a few minutes. This year, the rates will focus their efforts on Tier 2 and Tier 3 strategies, including student attendance review teams, which we call SART, and student attendance review boards, which are SARB, and truancy court, with an emphasis on comprehensive SART conferences, which current research shows can have positive outcomes for students and families, keeping more families out of the SARB and truancy court hearings. As mentioned earlier, we took a deep dive into studying all areas related to attendance in our district, and these are the various pieces of data we reviewed that helped guide our next steps. And of those, I'm going to lift up a few here. So, utilizing the continuous improvement process, we analyzed the data and looked for patterns and trends within the data. A few emerging trends we discovered are that chronic absenteeism has either maintained or declined since 2022. Transitional kindergarten and kindergarten do not have consistent attendance, as you can see by the squiggly lines on the graph there. And our targeted subgroups are not improving. To note, when looking at attendance over time, there's a dip in December's attendance, and with a deeper dive, we determined the cause to be related to personal illness and other excused and unexcused reasons. Similarly, the bottom graph shows higher rates of chronic absenteeism in the month of August, which correlates to some of the same reasons as previously stated. We also looked at attendance over time from August 2025 through December of 2025, which is represented by this color-coded gradient shading up here, with 90% being the center value. Days above 90% are a shade of green, with darker green representing better daily attendance, while days below 90% are a shade of red, with darker red representing worse daily attendance. Days at 90% are white. Ideally, we want to see all green, but the shading helps us see what are called dip days. These are days where attendance rates fall below the baseline. These often include Mondays and Fridays, days preceding and following holidays such as Veterans Day, and track change days for our year-round sites. Moving forward, in terms of outreach and communication with families, we are focusing on a district-wide attendance awareness campaign and piloting the Attend School Status attendance tracking software in the Valley and Florin regions. This year's attendance campaign is Your Presence Matters. Attend today, achieve tomorrow. With the goal of increasing daily on-time attendance and decreasing chronic absenteeism rates, we are focusing on early and frequent positive messaging and building positive relationships through parent-teacher home visits as one solid Tier 1 practice. The Attend tracking software helps with early detection and frequent messaging through automated outreach and engages families in multiple languages. Research has shown that frequent and early messaging is impactful to improving attendance. As we work to strengthen Tier 1 practices, this system is helping us refine our Tier 2 and Tier 3 practices as well. When we look at attendance improvement through the lens of the MTSS framework, we see that prevention, early intervention, and intensive intervention mirror the tiered approach to supporting academics, social and emotional outcomes, and behavior. The strategies and practices listed are just some examples of best practices that support tiered interventions to impact improved attendance. As previously mentioned, our district received a 3-year innovation grant focused on reducing chronic absenteeism. The grant allows for increased support for Florin and Valley Region schools, along with Daler, Calvine, and Rio Cazadero. These sites were chosen due to having the highest chronic absenteeism rates and lowest average daily attendance rates at the time we wrote the grant. Grant activities will include all of what you see here, but I want to highlight our new partnership with Mentor California, which focuses on relationship-centered schools and mentoring mindsets. Currently, Mentor California is working with staff at Jackman Middle School, Rudder Middle School, and Calvine High School to provide mentoring mindsets trainings and listening sessions with students and families. The ultimate goal of this youth mentoring program is to create a culture of thriving for young people, one caring relationship at a time. Thank you for listening, and now I'll turn it over to my colleague Erin to talk about attendance and learning recovery.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of talking about attendance and learning recovery, but before I jump into that, I just want to make a statement that we know first instruction is what's best for students, and so the work that Lisette and her team are doing to try to make sure students are here every day is critical, but if they aren't, and things do happen, then what comes next is attendance and learning recovery. We know that when students are not at school, they are not having the opportunity to learn, and so this enables us to provide additional standards-aligned instruction with a credentialed teacher to help mitigate the learning loss that can happen from missed school. So attendance recovery allows the district the option to offer more opportunities and increase student access to instruction, and also to recover funding dependent on the average daily attendance. That's the definition under California Department of Education. It was brought into effect last July under Education Code 46210 and 46211. What attendance recovery is not, and it's important that we highlight this, it is not a replacement for instruction during the regular school day, and participation in attendance recovery does not change a student's attendance record. So if they have an absence on file, that stays on file even if they participate in attendance recovery. It's designed to provide additional standards-aligned instruction. It supports student engagement and performance, and it's offered outside of the regular school day through before, after school sessions, intersession at our year-round schools, Saturday sessions, or summer sessions. So these opportunities beyond the learning, beyond the school bell, why would invited students consider participating in that? It's, again, designed to engage students, so we offer educational activities and content that is aligned with their grade level standards. It needs to be significantly similar to the instructional day that they would have, but again, it's not an exact replica. So the students who are participating in an after-school program, for example, may not have missed the same period in school today or yesterday. They could have been absent on a different day. So we can't do a one-to-one makeup session of what was happening during the day. But again, it's extra time with teachers. It's an extra opportunity to connect, deepen their understanding, build knowledge, explore new learning concepts, participate in programs that benefit all students, and it also benefits the district. And it is open to all students, so we encourage families to participate if given the opportunity. Last year was our pilot year, so it was the first year that we implemented. Again, it just came into legislation and became effective last July. So the 2025-26 school year was the first opportunity for us to offer this, and these are some of the things that we learned. So when we reflect on our year one implementation, we had many out-of-school time offerings that were created to address learning loss during the pandemic, and some of those we kind of resurrected and brought back because they could qualify as attendance recovery, but also they're things that we knew worked for students. And so we were able to bring back some of the things that were post-COVID when students were first coming back on campus. Our teachers have been really creative with what's being offered to support and engage students. As an example, we had a teacher align writing a resume with English language arts standards, and students got to participate in a resume writing seminar as part of their attendance recovery, and then they could use that to apply for summer work at Valley High School. There's other things that have been directly connected with what's happening in the daytime. Sometimes it's an extension of what's happening in the daytime, but it's always standards aligned and always offered by a credentialed teacher. Additionally, based on our reflections, we have done some additional work to strengthen the auditing and accounting process to fulfill all compliance requirements. We've created reports and things with partnership with our technology services so that teachers can monitor what students have had the opportunity to participate and which students may want to be invited moving forward. We have identified a need for additional communication with families. And so you may have heard me refer to it on the first slide as attendance and learning recovery. And the reason that we are adding the word learning in there is because we have had some families who have said, well, my child hasn't been absent yet, I can't attend. And we want to be clear that it is open to all students, and if you've been invited, then we would love to see you here. And it's open to all because, of course, we want all students to learn. We also know that teachers drive the work, so to make this meaningful, we need to empower our teachers to be able to get creative and align with standards and give them materials and give them the opportunity to create meaningful lessons for students that are engaging. And in the 25-26 school year, we were able to offer over 50,000 days of instruction. And the way that this is calculated is it's 1 hour, 4 hours for grades 1 through 12 equals a full day. So in 1 hour increments, it's been offered. In some cases, it may have been a full day if they were in an intercession program, but so 50,000 days times 4 hours, 200,000 hours of instruction happened outside of the school day in the 25-26 school year. And with that, I will invite Ms. LeMay back up if you have questions for us.
Thank you. Are there any blue cards related to this item?
Madam President, there are no blue cards related to this item.
All right. Then, board members, if you have any questions and comments, I wanted to start with Ms. Villas.
Thank you for the very informational presentation. As a student who's going back to school in about a week, it was great to hear about all the attendance recovery opportunities and to hear that the district is focused on supporting students when they are missing school rather than punishing them, since oftentimes those circumstances can be out of their control. I actually had 2 questions. So the first one was directed toward the mentoring mindset program that you guys mentioned. I was wondering if this is offered one-to-one to every student, or if this is a classroom-based initiative, and also if it's been around long enough for you guys to see any improvements.
So great questions. We are actually just starting at Rudder and Calvine High School, and then moving on to Jackman in the fall. And it can be one-to-one. It is, first of all, working with our adults to understand what relationship-centered schools are and what a mentoring mindset is, and then it's partnering those adults with students. The beauty of this program is that we don't go outside of the campus to find the mentors. We work with staff that are on the campus who already have some sort of rapport and relationship with students.
Thank you. And my second question is on the attendance recovery. Is this offered at every school site? And also, if students aren't invited, I know you guys mentioned that it's open to all students, so how would they be informed, I guess, of where it would be taking place?
Great questions. Yes, in the 25-26 school year, we did offer it on every campus. Depending on what the offering was, there may be things that are of interest to students or maybe not of interest to students. So we tried to align it with the programs that already exist before or after school on your campuses. So if there were club days or there was an ACES after school program or an Excel after school program, we tried to align it with that. And those are always open to all students. And then additionally, our summer programs are advertised out to all students, and there was an option to attend attendance recovery or to opt out of attendance recovery on the application for summer this year for all students.
Great.
Thank you for the answers.
Thank you. Ms. Ballerini.
Thank you again for all that information. I do have one quick, well, actually, two things to say. Not available for TK and kindergarten, the attendance recovery or learning recovery, we're calling it?
It is. It's TK through 12, and it's
Okay.
also open to students with special needs, and instead of aligning with standards, it's aligned with IEP goals in that situation.
Okay.
The TKK, it's 3 hours is the equivalent of 1 day.
Okay. You said the other grades and I didn't hear that one. Okay.
I apologize for
No.
leaving that out.
That's fine. The other thing is, I loved the idea of, I'm going to call them sandwich boards that you guys had out, or each school had out in front of what the goal was for percentage, et cetera. And I picked my grandsons up after school every day, and I would look at that and go, oh, we just missed it. Or, and I taught the boys what it meant. Just think about one more kid there, we might have made the goal, those kind of things. I think it's important for parents to understand that their kid being at school not only affects the kids, but it affects our budget. And I just think it's important, and I love the sandwich boards. So tell them to keep doing those. I'm thrilled with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yang.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Just want to start with a couple questions to clarify that. So this presentation is directed on what level of schooling, or like what grades?
TK through 12.
Okay. So I find it, and there's more information could be inserted in there for clarification. I know it says 1 year reflection. So in the past, do we have like multiple years on here to see the trend as far as we are improving or we declining attendance?
There may be two questions in there. So attendance recovery was new in legislation, just came into effect in July of 2025. But as far as attendance trends over time, whether students are attending or not, I'm going to turn that over to you.
So if I'm understanding your question, yes, we track attendance trends over time and have done that for quite some time.
Okay, so I would say for transparency for everyone, including the board and all constituents, I would recommend going forward, maybe have a slide that shows the trend of multiple years so that we could see the improvement or the need to be improved. That would be very helpful. And because daily attendant data is very important, as my colleagues to the left just mentioned, it affects our funding. And I think it's important for the student to know as well, and the parents. along with it, because, we get our resources to teach them based on, the funding, right? So if they're not attending school, then we're not gonna get all the funding that we're supposed to get. So I think it's also important to let them know that. And maybe some students or parents may not even know it, So that communication, I think, is important. I would say I will be talking to you guys and David a little bit more, just to work on a couple of things going forward. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Well, I appreciate the creativity in creating lessons such as the resume writing. It's being used for good use. Will we still be using the SAR process in conjunction with this?
Yes, that is a process that we will use as needed with students and families.
I know working at a school site, there's frustration that they don't feel supported. In the SARBing process, they go through all the writing of the paper, sending it out, but nothing gets done.
So yes, it's a process that involves not only our regional attendance improvement teams, but our site admin as well. And that process we have been working to refine and also to make more restorative and connective for our families who are experiencing some severe barriers to attendance.
Okay. Will we be reaching out to schools that have a lower percentage of recovery time and supporting those schools?
Yes.
Okay.
We have plans in place to do that based on the data from last year.
Okay. Also, you said that they could attend the after-school program. All students are open to this as being done through like the Excel program, but those programs have waiting lists, or there are children who don't attend those programs. How will they access those programs?
Good question. So previously we had wait lists for the after-school program for expanded learning opportunities. As of January 2026, our district moved from a rate 2 district to a rate 1 district, which increased funding and also set the bar higher so that we are obligated to take every student who requests access. So it is anticipated that we will not have wait lists. The exception to that would be the daytime TKK when we don't have the physical space on some campuses. But for the after-school program, we can enroll students. We've adjusted our early release and dismissal policy to allow students to come on a drop-in basis. And so if they wanted to come on the days that attendance recovery is offered and only take advantage of those days, it would be open for them to do that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. I just have a couple comments, not questions. The robocalls that we get over and over, I've had so many parents come in and want to be taken off those calls. I think we really need to concentrate on person-to-person calls. I think we connect with the parents better that way than sending them 6 calls, 10 different ways. Let's see here. Just want to make sure I have everything here. Just from experience too, December, families go out of country a lot in December. You didn't mention that, but I know that was our biggest hit to our attendance was going home to Mexico or over to another country for the whole month of December, and that really takes down your attendance rate. And yeah, just continue supporting the schools. It's a hard place for them to be in.
Yeah, that's our plan.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Ms. Baldwin?
Thank you for the presentation. This is really helpful, I think, for parents, because oftentimes I think we wonder like, oh, what else could I do to support my kid? And it really comes down to the best thing you can do to support your child is to get them to school. Even if it's enticing to be like, oh, we're gonna have a track change day, or oh, we're gonna want to extend the week as best we can to accommodate holidays. As enticing as that is, if there's any way possible to build your plans around the schedule that or calendar that your child is on, it really does make a significant difference for their education, as well as for the schools and how we are doing the things that we're doing to be creative with program and supporting our students meeting their needs. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I think you mentioned that in the presentation with the color coding, that as closer we get to holidays and track change days, those are going to be tempting, but it's really, really helpful for us to have our kids in school as best we can.
Thank you. Ms. Moore?
Thank you very much for the presentation. You mentioned a dip in attendance in December, and if we look at page 8, we can see that on December 22nd and 23rd, there was actually a significant decrease with 82% and 79% respectively on those days. And if you go back and look at our calendar from last year, those 2 days, this 22nd and 23rd, were both, our traditional calendar was out of school at that time, but our year-round students were in school. And so I spoke with Superintendent Riley, and I imagine that the reason we see that significant dip is because those year-round families likely have, a sibling on, maybe an older sibling on traditional schedule, and they want to be, have the family holiday time, which is understandable. And so, so I was just wondering, I know it's a complex question, and we don't necessarily have to have, because I know that the way the schedule is made is very complex, but I just think that's something to maybe look at, that we consider aligning our winter break, because this year I know that on the front end of our winter break, our traditional or our year-round kids had the 2 extra days, but sometimes it's at the end of the winter break, and I know that families want to be together. So that's just maybe something to consider, and obviously the data is showing that. So, and then again, I just was looking at in August, if you look closely, the school year for traditional students started on August 14th last year, and there seems to be a slight trend or lower trend right before school starts, and then for about a week and a half it goes up significantly, and then it comes back down, but it's still higher than the baseline was before our traditional kids came. So again, I just wonder if maybe some of those families were trying to spend time together. So I think the reason I'm saying this is I just think it's an important consideration, because I know a lot of families that do have children in elementary school that are on the year-round calendars, but then older children that are on the traditional calendars, that is a challenge for them. And so I think really getting into that data more can be really helpful for us, and that's something I've asked for before, and Mr. Riley agrees now that is something that we need to look at. So I just think that's maybe something we can do to better understand those families and be aware of that as we go forward. But I appreciate the information and all of your work, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas?
I have nothing to add beyond thank you very much for everything you guys are doing.
I just had a few quick comments. I would say that you sign up for those robocalls at some point, and they just come. And my husband would call me and go, "Do you know Bella's home?" I'm like, "Of course I know she's home. I'm taking care of her." They're just classic. That'd just be great. So on page 14, is there any way we're working to let teachers share their successful lessons and ideas? I just, as a teacher, when I came to the Best Center and I got lessons, when I was given lessons, it was such a powerful tool to make them your own or use them just like they were best practices. Do we have something going for that?
We do. We are building a website, an internal website that teachers will be able to share things that are going well for them, maybe even request help on challenges they might be having. And this is going to be rolled out through the site coordinator who coordinates the AR activities on their campus, so that we can help get the word out and make sure any teachers that haven't yet participated, if there's a barrier to them participating, maybe we could get some information on that. So we do have a plan of attack to help
I love that.
not reinvent the wheel any more than we have to.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's great. And then I just want to echo Ms. Moore. I think if we're laying attendance over sub-requests, quite a few things, like it could give the calendar committee a lot of things to talk about and look at. So I appreciate the data and the deep dive onto that. And I think you guys will come up with some solutions there. So thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate your work. Our next agenda item is a public hearing regarding resolution number 7, 2026-2027, resolution determining that public interest and necessity require acquisition of real property for the public purpose and authorizing proceedings in eminent domain. The next item is a public hearing in advance of the board's consideration of resolution number 7, 2026-2027, resolution determining that public interest and necessity require acquisition of real property for public purpose and authorizing proceedings in eminent domain. Before the board may adopt a resolution of necessity, it must give each person whose property is to be acquired by eminent domain and whose name and address appears on the last equalized county assessment roll notice, and for those who filed a written request within the time specified in the notice, a reasonable opportunity to appear and be heard on the following matters. The public interest and necessity require the project is planned or located in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest good and the least private injury. The property sought to be acquired is necessary for the project, and the district made an offer to you, the owner of record, to purchase the property pursuant to Government Code Section 7267.2. This hearing is not to determine or discuss the price and valuation of the property. Following this item, the district's board will be asked to consider adoption of a resolution finding and determining that the public interest and necessity require the acquisition of real property for the public purpose of development, construction, operation, and maintenance of a new middle school, high school, and authorizing the acquisition thereof through eminent domain. The properties at issue are a portion of assessor's parcel number 067-0100-023, 067-0100-024, and 067-0100-018. While the purpose of this public hearing is to give property owners an opportunity to be heard on the issues specified above, there will also be an opportunity for the public to comment on the resolution of necessity during our next item. The board will consider both the comments received at today's hearing and during public comment in considering whether to adopt the proposed resolution. I now open the public hearing to Mr. Rob Lehman. If you'll come to this podium, please, sir.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Rob Lehman. I sat on my local school board for 8 years. I thank you for doing what you do, and know it's not fun. On behalf of Foothill Holdings, LLC, I am here to preserve our objections to the adoption of this resolution. We are the fee owner of the property identified as assessor parcel number 067-0100-018. Located at 4715 Rancho Cordova Parkway, Rancho Cordova, California. The district seeks to condemn the property for a vaguely stated middle school, high school project. The district staff report for the resolution shows that the project is largely undefined. No specifics on the project are provided, such as footprint of buildings, location of improvements, site drainage, etc. All such information is necessary to both make a judicious determination of public necessity elements, and further to have made a pre-condemnation appraisal and pre-condemnation offer that are factually appropriate and compliant with the law. The information provided to us was also not compliant with the district's own requirements in the district's eminent domain pamphlet. Because fundamental and specific aspects of the project have not been provided, we reserve our right to address issues pertaining to necessity that are not yet known to or knowable by us. As to the pre-condemnation appraisal, the district's pre-condemnation offer, they do not comply with our right under our right to just compensation. They do not meet the district's requirements as set out in the district's eminent domain information pamphlet provided to us and as part of the record of this hearing. We understand that the government code requires that the pre-condemnation appraisal and pre-condemnation offer shall be based on principles of just compensation. It is our position that they were not compliant. The government code requires that the pre-condemnation offer must be for the just compensation for the real property acquired and for damages to our remaining property. There are specific standards to be applied in determining just compensation, including compensations for damages or severance damages. The fundamental directive to determine just compensation has not been followed. The fundamental assumptions used by the district's appraiser defy the principles of just compensation in the following ways. There was no larger parcel analysis of our property. The offer and appraisal do not identify our larger parcel. The appraisal instead combines our property with another property belonging to a different property owner. The district's offer then makes an allocation rather than offering based on an appraisal of our property. Number two, the pre-condemnation appraisal and pre-condemnation offer also fail to analyze highest and best use as to our remaining property in light of the proposed partial take and admittedly unplanned school facilities. Number three, there was no identification of the remainder of our ownership. Number four, there was no physical description of the remainder. Number five, there's no meaningful description of the school facilities or for the appraisal or for our purposes. For that matter, there is no meaningful description of the school facilities that might be built for the district. It is basically a we will figure it out later situation. Accordingly, there is no analysis of how the construction and implementation of the school facilities may affect the remainder of our ownership. The appraiser assumes away severance damages without any analysis whatsoever, particularly as the district does not identify any specifics about the project or address the larger parcel. Number six, there is no value of the remainder in the no project condition. Number seven, there is no value of the remainder considering the take or the project in the after condition. Number eight, no before and after valuation, the valuation comparison. Therefore, there's no foundation for any damage to the remainder of the property. 9, there seems to be aspects of the appraisal and offer that suggest that the district is using aspects of its proposed taking and project to decrease the value of our property in the before condition. Number 10, the appraiser defines the larger parcel as the same property that the district seeks to take. It is not considering our ownership. The larger parcel is not the part taken for the district's proposed school sites. The district's appraisal position and its offer is not for our ownership in the before condition or for the remainder of our ownership in the after condition. For these 10 reasons, the appraisal simply fails to perform the essential analytical steps required for a property partial taking appraisal. Cumulatively, from a logic standpoint, the offer and appraisal are so riddled with non-compliance that they are not valid. Furthermore, this board, a couple months ago, in order to charge increased school fees to developers, had presented a valuation analysis for applicable acreage that far exceeds the amount offered. The district's own report used to increase the taxes on developers states that site costs are based on acquisitions at $677,815 per acre for sites usable for school purposes based on Department of Education standards. This per acre value is based on an appraisal, so said your report. Yet the district is offering us far less than $677,000 per acre and based on an invalid appraisal. The district cannot adopt and charge school fees based on one valuation analysis and at the same time turn around and offer us millions of dollars less than the district's appraisal analysis demonstrated. In similar fashion, the district has not engaged in good faith negotiations as it is represented to the public. Instead, it has reoffered the same compensation that is wholly deficient for the reasons I have explained. Repeating the same non-compliant offer over and over does not constitute good faith negotiations, nor does it make the offer valid. Additionally, it appears CEQA has not been satisfied given the amorphous project description. In fact, district admits that CEQA has not been satisfied. The staff report asserts, without support, that CEQA cannot be done without site control. The report has the analysis incorrectly stated. We believe that CEQA compliance is required before acquisition, not sometime after. Without CEQA compliance, the district is not complying with law. We simply seek to be treated fairly in accordance with our rights under the Constitution. The district's appraisal, offer, and failure to comply with the law is not in accordance with our rights under the law, and we reserve all our rights. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. I will now close the public hearing. We will move to action items. Approval of resolution number 7, 2026-2027, a resolution determining that the public interest and necessity require acquisition of real property for the public purposes and authorizing proceedings in eminent domain for the Sun Creek Middle School High School project, Sun Creek property. Dr. Coates.
All right. Good evening, President Albiani, members of the board, Superintendent Riley, Ms. Avalos, staff, and community. Remind me later. The item before you tonight is the proposed resolution of necessity for the Sun Creek Middle School and High School site. We recognize the seriousness of this action, and we appreciate the property owner's participation in tonight's hearing. We've heard concerns expressed through public testimony, and our presentation will focus on the evidence before the board, the district's facilities and enrollment needs, the alternatives evaluated, and the statutory findings required for the board's consideration. This work is directly connected to the district's learning vision and core values. In particular, fiscal stewardship and operational excellence require the district to plan for enrollment growth, secure appropriate school sites, and provide safe, well-maintained educational facilities for current and future students. The action is not being taken lightly. It reflects the district's responsibility to plan ahead and ensure that students have access to adequate middle and high school capacity as this area continues to grow. Tonight's action is limited but important. The board is being asked to consider whether the evidence supports findings required to adopt a resolution of necessity and allow the district to move forward with the property acquisition process. The district made an offer based on an independent appraisal. That offer has not been accepted. Negotiations may continue, and the district remains open to reaching a negotiated agreement. However, adoption of the resolution is a statutory prerequisite if the district must move forward through eminent domain. Taking this action tonight preserves the project schedule while those discussions continue. The board's decision is based on the full record before it. That record includes the proposed resolution, the staff report and supporting evidence, the California Department of Education's initial site evaluation, the alternatives analysis, the project schedule and infrastructure information, and the district statutory offer and negotiation record. It also includes the testimony received tonight and the property owner's opportunity to be heard. The purpose of this presentation is to organize that evidence around the findings the board must make, not to repeat every document or respond point by point to the testimony heard this evening. It's helpful to begin with how school development typically occurs in California. In many communities, residential development is already underway or substantially complete before the school district begins construction. Subdivision maps have been approved, homes are built, mass grading has occurred, and roads, utilities, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure are already in place. The school district then constructs the school to serve the surrounding community. That typical sequence provides the district with greater certainty regarding access, infrastructure, grades, utilities, and the timing of student generation. The Sun Creek project has followed a different path. The district has worked for several years with the city and the affected property owners to align future residential development, school construction, and projected enrollment growth. Those conversations date back to March of 2019. The shared intent was to ensure that the school site would become available as the surrounding development moved forward. Despite repeated discussions and coordination among the parties, the land acquisition and development activities did not advance at a pace that matched the growing need for the middle and high school capacity. The district continued to engage because a negotiated and coordinated acquisition remained the preferred outcome. At this point, however, the district must also protect its ability to deliver the school when students need it. During that period, student enrollment continued to increase. Existing schools absorbed additional students. At Catherine L. Albiani Middle School and Pleasant Grove High School are currently over capacity. The district has implemented temporary measures, including redirecting students to Sheldon High School and Elk Grove High School. Those measures have helped manage immediate enrollment, but they do not provide a permanent solution. The map illustrates the concentration of secondary enrollment needs and the distance between the growth area and the schools currently absorbing additional students. Capacity pressures at both the middle and high school levels continue to grow. The district can no longer base its planning on the assumption that the site will become available at some undefined point in time. The proposed site is located in the Sun Creek specific plan area, northeast of the district's existing boundary. More specifically, it is east of Rancho Cordova Parkway and south of North Campus Road. The site was designated for school use within the Sun Creek specific plan, and it's positioned to serve existing and planned residential development in this portion of Rancho Cordova. The Rancho Cordova City Council approved the Sun Creek specific plan and certified the related final environmental impact report in November of 2013. That is, therefore, not a newly identified school location. It's been part of the long-range land use plan for more than a decade. The Sun Creek specific plan covers approximately 1,265 acres in one of Rancho Cordova's primary development areas. The plan anticipates more than 5,000 homes organized into walkable neighborhoods and connected parks, trails, open space, and community uses. As shown on the map, the middle school and high school site is integrated into that planned community and is surrounded by future residential development and dedicated open space. That location is important. A secondary school should be positioned where it can efficiently serve the students generated by the surrounding development, rather than requiring the district to transport students to a site that is farther away or disconnected from primary growth areas. To adopt the resolution of necessity, the board must make the findings listed on this slide. First, that the public interest and necessity require the project. Second, that the project is planned or located in a manner most compatible with greatest public good and least private injury. Third, that the property is necessary for the project. Fourth, that the district made the required statutory offer. And fifth, that the district complied with the applicable requirements governing the exercise of eminent domain authority. The remaining slides address the evidence supporting each of these findings. Enrollment growth has created a documented need for additional middle and high school capacity. The projections shown here demonstrate continued growth at Catherine L. Albiani Middle School and Pleasant Grove High School through 2030. Several years of planning, coordination, and negotiation have not resulted in the site becoming available within the timeframe needed to advance the project. Continued delay affects more than the acquisition date. It delays design development, environmental evaluation, regulatory approvals, infrastructure coordination, contractor procurement, and ultimately the school opening. Advancing the project now is necessary if the district is to meet the educational needs, current and future students, and maintain the target opening in 2029. The California Department of Education completed an initial evaluation of the Sun Creek site. The proposed program includes a middle school serving approximately 1,200 students and a high school serving approximately 2,200 students on a combined secondary campus. The site contains approximately 85 gross and 85 net usable acres. That represents approximately 112% of the CDE recommended acreage for this type of combined campus. It's important to be precise about what that initial evaluation means. It allows the district to proceed with further site evaluation. It does not constitute final CDE site approval. Additional environmental, engineering, safety, and regulatory work remains necessary. The initial CDE evaluation identified several favorable characteristics. Again, the site provides approximately 85 usable acres and exceeds the recommended acreage for the combined program. It is generally level and near finished grade, is currently fallow, and contains no existing structures requiring removal. The initial evaluation also identified no existing easements, rights of way, land use incompatibilities that would preclude further consideration. These characteristics do not eliminate the need for additional study, but they support the conclusion that the site is appropriate for continued evaluation and design. The Sun Creek site offers several advantages for a combined middle and high school campus. Its size and near rectangular configuration support an efficient campus layout. The parcel can be divided functionally between the middle school and high school while still allowing the schools to share appropriate infrastructure and facilities. The setback from Rancho Cordova Parkway reduces direct traffic exposure, and the site configuration creates the potential to place athletic fields on the western portion of the property. The photographs show the existing open and largely level condition of the site. When these characteristics were considered together, Sun Creek received a stronger overall ranking than the other sites evaluated. So again, staff is not suggesting that the site requires no further analysis. The district must complete the applicable CEQA review, including evaluation of biological culture, cultural, scenic, agricultural, wind, and odor considerations. Consultation with Air Quality Management District will be necessary regarding potential hazardous air emissions. The district must also complete geotechnical and geohazard studies and obtain the required Department of Toxic Substances Control review and clearances. These are part of the normal site approval and design process. Securing access and site control is necessary so that the district can complete this work thoroughly and in a proper sequence. The district reviewed multiple potential locations for the secondary school campus. The evaluation included Sun Creek, Luxury Village, Cordova Hills, Legato, Chalico, and the Cordova Hills academic site. The comparison considered CDE rankings, acreage, site configuration, infrastructure and access, surrounding development, environmental and physical constraints, and schedule implications. Several alternatives have had positive attributes. However, each also presented significant limitations relating to acreage, entitlement access, entitlement status, roads and utilities, parcel shape, environmental conditions, or alignment with the primary student growth area. Based on the complete evaluation, Sun Creek best satisfies the district's educational planning, infrastructure, and schedule objectives. The vicinity map shows the geographic location among the sites considered. Sun Creek and Luxury are located within the Sun Creek planning area west of Grant Line Road and closer to primary area generating projected student growth. Cordova Hills and Cordova Hills academic site are farther east, where roadways, utilities, and surrounding development are not currently in place. Legato and Chalico are farther south and present different access, acreage, environmental, and community integration considerations. The map is important because site selection is not based on acreage alone. The location must align with where students will live and with infrastructure necessary to open a school on the required schedule. Luxury Village was a credible alternative and received a favorable initial CDE rating. It includes approximately 75 net acres and has a strong rectangular configuration and is located within the Sun Creek specific plan area. However, it is not currently designated as a school site. The associated development application was withdrawn and no future housing development is planned at this time. The site also has limited access, with one road located east of the property, and its proximity to the landfill would require additional wind evaluation. Most significantly, the changing to this site is estimated to add at least 2 years to the project schedule because of the necessary planning, entitlement, evaluation, and redesign work. The Cordova Hills site is designated for school use and includes approximately 70.1 net acres. However, it currently has no road access or utilities and is located approximately 1.3 miles from Grant Line Road without surrounding development. Housing development in that area is not anticipated for at least 5 years. The site also includes wetlands and an intermittent stream that would affect campus layout and its proximity to a transfer station and would require wind evaluation. The supporting Cordova Hills planning material also recognizes that this location is not central to most of the projected student growth, which is expected to occur in Sun Creek and Sunridge developments west of Grant Line Road. Moving the project to this site would create an estimated schedule impact of at least 2 years. The Legato site is designated for school use and is generally suitable in shape. Over time, access could potentially be developed on 2 sides. However, the site provides approximately 65.2 net acres, which is below the CDE recommended acreage for the combined middle and high school program. It is located directly off Sunrise Boulevard, a major thoroughfare, and the surrounding roads, infrastructure, and housing developments are not currently in place. The site also contains low hills that may require grading, and a nearby concrete operation creates potential dust and particulate concerns that require further evaluation. The anticipated schedule impact is at least 2 years. The Shalloco site includes approximately 81.6 net acres and is near the developed Sunrise and Kiefer corridors. However, its configuration presents significant challenges. High voltage power lines would require easements and setbacks. Wetlands on the eastern and western portions constrain the usable area and contribute to the irregular parcel shape. The site is located at a high traffic intersection and currently lacks the walkable neighborhood infrastructure that would support safe student access. A medical waste company is adjacent to the property, and the site is not integrated into a planned residential development area. Transfer station proximity would also require wind impact evaluation. Even with its proximity to major roads, changing to this site would likely add at least 1 year to the schedule. The Cordova Hills academic site is within the Cordova Hills community plan, but it was originally designated for a private university, not for a combined public middle school and high school. At approximately 50.9 acres, it is substantially below the recommended acreage for the proposed program. The site also contains intermittent streams and hills that could require grading and environmental mitigation. Access from Grant Line Road creates additional traffic considerations, and the necessary surrounding infrastructure is not currently available. Transitioning the project to this location would create an estimated schedule delay of at least 2 years. This table consolidates the comparative analysis. Sun Creek had the strongest alignment with the anticipated student growth area, provides the full 85 acres, and is the most advanced site from a planning and design standpoint. Luxury has entitlement and development uncertainty. Cordova Hills lacks roads and utilities and is not expected to develop in the near term. Legato is below the recommended acreage. Shalloco includes wetlands, easements, and parcel configuration constraints. The Cordova Hills academic site is significantly undersized and lacks infrastructure. The conclusion is not that every other site is impossible. The conclusion is that alternative would introduce substantial additional risk, delay, or program limitations. Sun Creek is the location that most effectively aligns student need, site suitability, infrastructure planning, and the 2029 delivery schedule. This slide connects the district site selection analysis to the findings the board is being asked to make. Student capacity and program requirements establish the public need for a combined campus. The site's location relative to student growth connects the project directly to the population it's intended to serve. Acreage and configuration support feasibility, access, circulation, safety, and infrastructure readiness address the greatest public good and the ability to deliver the project. Environmental conditions were compared across all alternatives and will continue to be evaluated through the required regulatory processes. The schedule analysis explains why action is needed now. Finally, the current property is fallow and contains no structures. While acquisition necessarily affects the owner's property interests, the lack of occupied structures, businesses, or residential displacement supports the district's consideration of least private injury. The district has completed schematic design for the Sun Creek Middle School and High School campus with a target opening of 2029. To advance into design development, the district must confirm property boundaries, setbacks, easements, and the alignments and grades of the adjacent roadways. The project team also needs to coordinate the regional mass grading plan and obtain detailed utility information for stormwater, sewer, domestic and irrigation water, electrical service, and low voltage systems. Topographic, geotechnical, and geohazard studies must also be completed. These are not minor details that can be resolved at the end of the process. They directly affect the location of buildings, roads, fields, utilities, drainage systems, and other major components of the campus design. Site control is necessary to move forward with the project. Before construction contract can be awarded, the district must own the site or have another legally qualifying form of control, such as a long-term lease, option, or order of possession. Critical pre-construction activities including CEQA review, CDE, and DSA processes, environmental investigations, geotechnical studies, and final engineering depend on reliable access and control of the property. Contractor procurement must also begin well before construction. A contractor should be engaged approximately 6 to 8 months in advance to assist with scheduling, cost validation, constructability, logistics, and planning. The selection process itself may require an additional 1 or 2 months. Every delay in securing the property pushes the subsequent milestones further out. The district is therefore seeking site control now, not because every evaluation is complete, but because control is necessary to complete those evaluations and keep the project moving. The district has issued the required statutory offer to property owners. The offer included a summary of the appraisal and the data supporting the district's valuation. It also included reimbursement of up to $5,000 per property for the owners to obtain an independent appraisal and provided an informational pamphlet explaining the eminent domain process. The statutory offer does not by itself initiate eminent domain proceedings. It is one of the procedural requirements that must occur before the district may move forward if a negotiated agreement cannot be reached. The district has engaged with the property owners on multiple occasions and remains willing to continue those discussions. Adoption of the resolution preserves the project schedule. It does not eliminate the opportunity for the parties to reach a negotiated agreement. This slide summarizes how the evidence supports each required finding. The public interest and necessity finding is supported by the documented need for additional secondary school capacity and the schedule required to deliver the school by 2029. The greatest public good and least private injury finding is supported by the alternatives analysis and Sun Creek's overall alignment with the site selection criteria. The property is necessary because the district requires access and control to complete design, infrastructure coordination, environmental review, utility planning, and the remaining approval processes. The statutory offer was made and negotiations may continue. Finally, the notice, hearing, board record, and statutory authority support the finding that the district has complied with the requirements applicable to this action. The proposed resolution formally confirms the findings supported by the record. It confirms that the required offers were made under Government Code Section 7267.2, and that notice of tonight's hearing was provided to the owners of record, including the notice of their right to be heard. It confirms that the board has received and considered the staff report, supporting evidence, and public testimony. It also recognizes that district's authority to acquire property for school purposes under cited provisions of the Education Code and California Constitution. Finally, the resolution authorizes legal counsel to initiate eminent domain proceedings and, if necessary, seek an order for prejudgment possession. That authorization gives the district the ability to protect the project schedule while negotiations continue. Based on the full record before the board, staff recommends adoption of the resolution of necessity. The resolution would determine that the public interest and necessity require acquisition of the Sun Creek Middle School and high school property for public school purposes and would authorize eminent domain proceedings if they become necessary. This recommendation reflects the district's responsibility to address documented enrollment growth, maintain the 2029 project schedule, and secure the site best aligned with the students and communities the campus will serve. The district remains committed to continuing good faith efforts and to reach a negotiated acquisition. With that, take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any blue cards on this item?
Madam President, I have 3 blue cards on this item. I have, I'm going to read them in order. Andres Chacon, Katrina Asana, and Chris Asana. So if Andres would like to take the podium over here first, and then Katrina and Chris will follow that up. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's Andres Chacon. I have 2 kids that will be, one right now is in TK and the other will be attending in the future. The reason I'm here presenting to the, or talking to the board, I respectfully urge the Elk Grove Unified School District Board to approve the use of eminent domain, if necessary, to acquire property for a much needed middle school and high school in the growing Rancho Cordova area. Our community has experienced significant growth, as mentioned by you, with many new families moving in the area each year. As development continues, the number of school-age children continues to increase. Existing schools are becoming overcrowded, resulting in large class sizes, increased transportation times, and limited educational opportunities for both current and future students. Providing adequate school facilities is an investment in our children's future. A new middle school and high school would reduce overcrowding at existing schools, provide students with greater access to academic, athletic, and extracurricular opportunities, improve safety and quality of life by reducing lengthy commutes and transportation demands, supply the continued growth and economic vitality of Rancho Cordova, ensure the current and future students receive the quality education they deserve, improve traffic along major roads like Grant Line, which is horrendous, and will continue to get worse should this not work out. While we recognize the eminent domain is a significant decision, my wife and I, and should only be used as a last resort, there are times when acquiring land for essential public infrastructure is necessary to meet the needs of a rapidly growing community. Education is one of the most important public investments we can make, and securing an appropriate school site miles closer now will benefit generations of students. We respectfully ask the board to consider long-term needs of Rancho Cordova families and vote in favor of using eminent domain, if required, to obtain property for these critical school facilities. New home buyers consider school availability when investing in long-term residents. Delaying action will only make acquiring suitable land more difficult and expensive in the future. Should a negotiated acquisition be an option? All for it. Thank you for your time, your service to our community, and your commitment to providing the best possible education opportunity for our children. Also, considering the current setup of having to commute to Elk Grove versus being much closer will allow for students to take full advantage.
I'm sorry, but your
of their
time is up.
education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. All right, and I need Katrina and then Chris.
My name is Katrina Osana. I am probably the least professional person that you will come in contact with today, so bear with me as I get through this. I am just a mom who lives in this area that is being discussed, and I have 3 kids, one of which goes to Pleasant Grove High School. I have been a part of the process of getting schools into our area 4 to 5 years. I've fought the good fight with several other parents. I lead a parent coalition of about 1,000 people just in Rancho Cordova, just in South Rancho Cordova alone, who are all going to be right there with me online tonight when I go to report back on how this meeting went, to rally and see to it that we are able to secure these schools for our kids. I personally have a 4th grader, which means my kid is the kid that is going to go to that middle school in 2029. She is going to be the first class of 7th graders. I have a 2nd grader who is going to be one of the first kids who gets to go to that high school as of now, a freshman through senior, when there's a full group of kids there. This means a lot to me personally. But I also want to just say we have a city that is unlike any other, and they support our area through and through, and they are really excited to support the district. I know there's some skepticism around the facts of what eminent domain is, what that looks like, what that means for the land owners. I have personally gotten to experience Rob, who is no longer in the building. I think that speaks volume about someone's character to walk out while someone who's professional is talking about all the research and preparations for these properties that supposedly just weren't there and non-existent to his, paperwork in front of him. I also think that it shows to his character that he has not done anything in a professional manner, including talking to moms like me online. I don't know, but either way, I just urge the board to consider all these things and to just know that you have thousands of mama bears and daddy bears out there who are eager to see you guys pass this so that we can have our babies in school that you build us, and that it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be on time. And we are with you and we support you, and we're looking forward to the next steps of naming these schools and sending our kids through these programs and everything that you're going to have to offer us. Thanks, that's it.
Thank you, and thank you for your volunteerism. And I have Chris Asana.
All right, my name's Chris Osana. I've been a member of the Rancho Cordova community and real estate professional for the past 10 plus years. Just gonna get to the nitty gritty of this. Eminent domain often gets a negative connotation, and because you're taking people's land. This is a different scenario. I'm gonna specifically address, parcel 018 because that's the biggest parcel on it that Foothill Holdings currently owns. Now, a little backstory on that. They purchased the property in 2023 with complete knowledge that the district was planning on it. They reached out to the city. They purchased it for $6.1 million approximately. Now, if you prorate that down to the 49 acres, that's about $3.7 million. The district's offered them $8.38 million for that parcel. They're looking at a $4 million profit in 3 years, and that's not enough for them. The other thing, they are a Nevada company that's looking to take advantage of this district, as well as anyone else. Also, as far as Rancho Cordova and the zoning, in the Sun Creek plan, it has been zoned for public or quasi-public use for the past 10 to 15 years. They purchased it 3 years ago. Again, they fully knew that. In Appendix C of the Sun Creek plan, it says that the city can only release it after discussing it with the district or any other public uses, and they refuse it, and the community approves it. That's not going to happen here. So the only use for that acreage, in my opinion, is the school. Also, the remaining portion of the parcel is all open space land. I know Rob, who's no longer in here, was discussing, how it's going to negatively impact the value. Well, it's zoned for open space and parks. Not going to change. Now, I know you may be concerned on, highest value, what's going to happen at the end of eminent domain. What wasn't addressed is there's also case law, which I'm sure everyone can look up, that there's a reasonable probability of land use when the valuation's determined. They have not submitted a tentative map. They have not tried to redevelop that into any residential, into any other zoning, because they knew you guys were guaranteed buyers. Now, I think this is a good opportunity because this is such a big growing district that we need to look at this not only for our area, but for every school. We have private investors coming in, buying the land that's already designated for schools, trying to take advantage of everyone. And if we don't set the precedents here, it's going to keep happening with every other area. And I think we need to fight it, and we need to look at, figure out what the development costs are on this, because this is a parcel that is completely undeveloped, no improvements. I don't believe the district has ever addressed that before. So, all right, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for your time. And that is the last blue card on this item, Madam President.
Thank you. I would like to call for a motion to approve resolution number 7, 2026-27, resolution of necessity determining that the public interest and necessity require the acquisition of approximately 85 acres of real property within the city of Rancho Cordova for purposes of constructing a new middle school and high school.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Moore, seconded by Mr. Yang. Go to a vote. Do you want to speak, Ms. Moore?
Sure, I'll say something.
I mean, no one needs to speak. I just don't want to cut you guys off.
Well, I just wanted to say, because I do represent this area, that I do believe that there is a need, and that I would like to thank the staff for creating this informative and thorough presentation. And I would like to thank the parents that came forward to share, their thoughts and their support for this action. And they do represent the voices of many parents. So that's all I'll say. But I appreciate everyone who communicated about this matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we need to do an individual roll call vote or anything?
No.
Because I know there's a minimum.
Okay. All those opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. If I had opposed, I'd do a count. Thank you. Item passes. Our number 2 on our action item is the Elk Grove Unified School District Community Facilities District 2026-2027 tax report and second reading of ordinance number 1, 2026-2027. Ms. Dayton?
Thank you. Good evening, President Albiani, members of the board, Superintendent Riley, Ms. Avalos. Tonight we are asking the board, acting on behalf of the Community Facilities District number 1, to approve the 26-27 tax report, conduct the second hearing, and adopt Ordinance 1, 26-27. Community Facilities District number 1 was established in 1987 to help finance school facilities within the district through a voter-approved Melrose special tax. Measure A was approved by voters in 1987 and later amended by voters in 1998 to continue supporting facilities needs within the district. Each year, state law requires the board, acting as the governing body of the Community Facilities District, to approve a tax report and adopt an ordinance authorizing the annual special tax levy. The 26-27 tax report establishes the special tax rates that will be placed on the Sacramento County property tax bills and collected during the upcoming fiscal year. The proposed tax rates remain unchanged from the prior year. Residential properties will continue to be assessed between approximately $45.84 and $200 annually per dwelling unit, depending on the applicable voter-approved tax category. On July 21st, 2026, the board conducted the required public hearing and first reading of the ordinance. No public comments were received. The item was then continued to tonight's meeting for second reading and adoption. Adoption of ordinance number 12627 will authorize the annual levy of the special tax and allow administration to submit the tax report to the Sacramento County Auditor's Office by the August 7th statutory deadline. Staff recommends that the board receive and approve the 2627 Community Facilities District Number 1 tax report, conduct the second reading and adopt ordinance number 12627, and direct administration to submit the tax report to the Sacramento County Auditor's Office.
Thank you. Are there any blue cards on this item?
There are no blue cards on this item.
And I'd like to call for a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Elk Grove Unified School District Community Facilities District Tax Report.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ballerini, seconded by Mr. Vargas. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Dayton. Okay, are there any board members who wish to submit reports on organizational or committee meetings relative to our district operations? Seeing none, I will move to adjournment. Thank you very much. It is 7:41.